you ever heard about the children of Zimbabwe?
I just heard about it a couple of weeks ago. Yes.
Children of Zimbabwe, when they seen these extraterrestrials, this is a real thing that actually took place. This is a real phenomenon. I think it was back in the 1980s, going into the 90s in Zimbabwe. It was a school during the daytime. These kids, they seen extraterrestrials getting off a spaceship. It landed at the school during the time when they had recess. And what happened was, one of the kids said when they seen the UFO or whatever, it had like a flute sound. Because one thing you got to understand about flutes have a ethereal energy, ether. It's an ether that doesn't take corporeal form. And that same ether is a form of gamma radiation. That gamma radiation is in alignment with the color spectrum of green because it works in tandem with the Schumann resonance. So as I was telling you before, that's how you know that, Andre 3000 is basically tapped into the energy, because he knows, there's a picture I got of him. He got the same garments as the Blue Star Kachina entity. Because like I said, you go from green to blue, and then you go from blue to ultraviolet. It's a form of evolution based upon the chakra system. So like I said, blue is a representation of the great purifier. The Blue Star Kachina, there is a blue star, there is a blue sun, but on an internal level, we are Blue Star Kachinas too, because the truth has an octave quark energy. Quark energy is contained of protons and neutrons. And those protons and neutrons work in conjunction with the leptons. That's a form of magnetism. So when you speak truth, that purifies the body. When you speak truth, that purifies the ethers. When you speak truth, that purifies the planet. That's the Blue Star Kachina.
Man, this was family. This was a powerful show here tonight. Yo, BDELL be going in, right, y'all? Oh man. Yo, you be going in, bro. Yo, keep up the great work. Tell the people before we get out of here, tell the people how they could get in touch with you and anything you got that you want to let them know about.
You can find me on BDELL1014, BDELL1014 on my YouTube. You can find me
perspective as well as many other perspectives. And what you hear, you may not hear anything anywhere else. But believe me, family, it's valid. Believe me, it's valid. With that being said, BDELL, one thing I want to say before we start the show with what you just said, I think I might have said this before, but I think it's important for me to reiterate this for people who, for confidence purposes, for people who believe in themselves. I did a show, my very first show with Yaki I did, Yaki Awaken. We wasn't in person because we've been doing these in-person interviews lately. It was a Zoom, like how me and you are doing. And Yaki had a slide presentation. I forget what it was called. YouTube striked it, by the way, because what the brother was saying. But I forget what it was called. But in that video, he showed a clip of you and what you were talking about, the black woman. And he said your name. He was like, I don't know who the brother is, but shout out to this brother, boom, boom, boom. And I remember typing your name in on Instagram or somewhere. And I found you. I found your page. And you had actually shared the video or a clip of the video or a picture of the still of the video that me and Yaki did and told the people that we reference you. And in that clip, in that post, you said, I'm gonna get on the brother's page one day. I promise you. You didn't say I promise you, but you just talked so confident. You was like, watch, I'm gonna get on the brother's page one day. It's gonna happen. And in my mind, I remember watching it as I look back now. I didn't know you from a hole in the wall now. And I just seen your page and I was just like, oh shit, this brother, he sound real confident. And I thought nothing of it. And I went on with my life. I never looked at your page for months until your page got reintroduced to me from some other information that you presented to the people. So your confidence, I'm saying that to say, I recognize your confidence early and I just went on with my life, but I got drawn back to you. It was destiny for me to have you on this channel, brother, because even if I ignored you at that time, your work is so potent and so good. My soul is potent and good. That's a match. If my soul is potent and is righteous, your soul is potent and righteous. I'm going, as far as this channel is concerned, you're going to get attracted to this channel. So you got attracted back to my vision. And eventually I was like, I got to get this brother on the channel. So I'm saying that to say, keep up the amazing work. Confidence is key. Yeah, I see. Shout out to Kimberly. Kimberly said, yeah, confidence is definitely key. The brother was very confident in what he does, and that's why the brother's on here now, and that's why the brother is blowing up all over the internet doing what he do. Shout out to you, BDELL. With that being said, let's get to the show, BDELL. What I want to say to you first, BDELL, let me just read this article real quick, because this is, like I said, a very important show. Let me read this article. So for those who don't know, like this happening. You did the show on the Leave the World Behind or whatever it was called with the brother KT.
Right.
What's going on? An important day. Important day. Important day,
What's taking place right now is that we're at the apex of a fourth turning, because the precessional circle of the equinox operates on the seculum of a cycle. So we're going through a transitional process by going from the Alpha Draconis star system that subjugated humanity under the lunar light-like energy, as we go to a transmutation process to the North Star, which is the star Polaris, which is the spiritual sun. So the spiritual sun is basically the abode of the Most High, which is the fifth dimension of the magnetosphere. When you have these ethereal frequencies coming in, it can cause a interface transition. And that interface transition in itself is when you have the glitching of the simulation, is what you call the energy extraction matrix. So that is basically working in tandem with the electrical grid system. So when you have a manipulation of the grid system, that can cause a malfunction for technological devices, for cars, radios, anything that's connected to the material plane. So these coronal mass ejections, these X-class coronal mass ejections, what is actually doing is it's causing a cosmic radiation, and that cosmic radiation is causing a cosmic convergence, which is the precursor to a harmonic convergence under a form of unity consciousness. So the unity consciousness aspect of it is that you got to understand is that the Great Awakening, or the epitome of the Aquarian age, is basically the foundation of how everybody is tapping into a new state of consciousness. So this is where dimensions start to collide. So where you have the third dimension mixing in with the fifth dimension, the material plane mixing in with the spiritual plane. So when you have these ethereal frequencies coming in, it can cause a manipulation within the grid system, just based upon the unity conscious aspect of how everybody's waking up to the illusion. Because the illusion in itself, which was under the three-dimensional Piscean age of darkness, was connected to the Alpha Draconis star system. So now we're in the age of Aquarius that is basically being facilitated by the star Polaris. So that's the true sun. So that's why back during the time, they used to say, people say, oh, the sun used to be yellow and now it's white. That white light, that is the star Polaris. That is the North Star giving off these fractions of light that's activating the magnetic field of the planet, and it's activating the magnetic field of the carbon body.
So this white light that we're seeing, and I talked about that. I know exactly what you're talking about because I talked about that. I think I first recognized that in 2019. I started reaching out to speakers on this channel and asking them about. I noticed though the sun was white. With that being said, because of this, the sun gazing work different because the white is light. Like I can make this light. Let me see how I get this. I can make this like different colors, and depending on the color, I can look at it stronger or I can't look at it that much. So because if the white is light, does that mean we could sun gaze during the afternoon? Because right now we put sun gaze at a certain time, early in the morning and in the evening time. So if we're looking at the light from Polaris, does that change the sun gazing aspect in terms of our avatar?
Well, it can cause a transitional shift within your genetics, because you get your vitamins from the sun, which is where they call it vitamin D, vitality almond ra, because you get your vitality from the sun. So as far as like sun gazing, it can activate certain neural synapses that's connected to the epigenetic body. And so it kind of works in tandem with everything as far as like these fractions of light that's coming from the spiritual sun. So sun gazing is very imperative during this time period, because it helps you be able to tap into the frequency of seeing beyond the illusion that was acclimated to the three-dimensional Piscean age of darkness that kept you under a sleep spell.
Indeed. So in terms of the outage that happened today, it was crazy because it happened with the data, but the Wi-Fi was still working. What do you think about just the whole the way our life is right now, BDELL? Cryptocurrency is popping right now, BDELL. But that's on the internet. That's on the internet. I gotta be able to access that motherfucker on the internet to spend my money. It's not physical. That as well as social media, just everything that's on the internet. What advice would you have seeing a little scare like this? Do you think should we not overreact? Do you think this is something where we have to change our lifestyle and how we're moving right now, BDELL?
The thing is, this is something that needs to happen. This is going to put you in a state of evolution in a transcendental process. The reason I say it has to happen because we have to, in order to tap into the Zohar body, in order to tap into the supreme higher self, you have to deviate from everything that's connected to the material plane, which also works in conjunction with the moon. So since we all have a strong code on everything as far as having emotional connection to, everything as far as like technology, money, anything that's physical, we all have a emotional connection to it. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, your emotions can deceive you. Just like, the person would say that the sky is purple if the color blue hurts their feelings. So we have to be rational so much to the point where we got to look in the state of reality and use our emotions as a navigation system to go about this great awakening journey. Because, you can't be so subjugated to the point where, your emotions is so acclimated. Oh, I need to get this money, or I can't drive my car, because when the grid goes down, you can't operate no vehicle after 1975, which is why NASA, they've been buying up a great amount of cars in the 1970s because they already know what's going to be taking place. That's just part of the Luciferian Great Reset. So it's going to meaning that in order to withstand this great awakening period, you got to operate from 0 point energy and use your emotions as a navigation system to get you to the next level. Because a lot of this shit that we love and we like and we feel like we need is not going to be here. We're not going to be able to drive that Ferrari or the the Benz or the BMW. You're not going to be able to get that cryptocurrency because it's going to be a transitional shift that's taking place.
So BDELL, like I said, we've been on here about 15 minutes. We got over 2,000 people on here, and I know it's a lot of new people that haven't heard this information before on here today. That's curious. What the hell does a solar flare erupted from the sun that's supposed to be so far away have to do with us, our body, our consciousness, and our society? Talk to me about the effect of solar flares on who we are, because everybody talks about equates upgrades with solar flares. What is the solar flare to begin with and its effect on us, BDELL?
Well, now the solar flares, they give off a velocity of Ethereum frequencies. And these Ethereum frequencies, when they collaborate with the carbon body, because the carbon is the building block of all civilization. So when you understand the inception of creation, because ether is the quintessential alchemical element, the fifth element, and when it merges in with the four basic elements, air, water, fire, earth, that is basically the foundation of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. That's equated to those four elements. So when you have ether merging in, it can cause creation or it can cause destruction, because spiritual energy is transmuted from the cosmos, which causes physical destruction. So what happens is, as far as like the carbon body, the ether activates the magnetic field of the planet, which is carbon, and it also activates the carbon body. So with that being said, your frequency has to be working in tandem with the evolution of the planet, because we all, been compromised from a biological standpoint when you're talking about these nanometals that's inside these foods and things of that nature. So it's all based on to subjugate the spiritual evolution of who you are. So that's why everything is pretty much, as far as the spiritual equilibrium of the planet, is basically been thrown off. So it's one of those things where
paper and that research and work upon it. You know what I mean? They'll create experiments. They'll create budgets, and they'll put those budgets to work. And if anybody on this quote unquote channel or this platform tonight is under the impression or as naive enough to think that the music industry has not been highly infiltrated by CIA, FBI, and all of the quote unquote counterintelligence agencies, the same counterintelligence agency that crushed the Panthers and crushed all of the resistance behind these quote unquote what they call enemy lines, then you out of your goddamn mind. I was in Philadelphia airport and they had a display about the 50th anniversary that coincides with the 50th anniversary of hip hop of Stax record, Philadelphia Sound, right? And when I saw that, it reminded me of what happened with Gamble and Huff when Clive Davis went from the CIA, wrote a white paper detailing how to infiltrate black music. Clive Davis took that white paper and then he infiltrated Philadelphia. And when they took down that black label, when they took down that magnificent, I'm talking about Patti LaBelle, I'm talking about Teddy Pendergrass, I'm talking about the super duper legends. If you don't know about the Philadelphia Sound, please look it up. And it was all melanated owned and whatnot. But that was a checkmate. When they was able to take that, they infiltrated, and we've never been able to look back. They created departments and they labels for R&B. And then Clive Davis let things rock for a little while. He's the main culprit. I'm one of the people who, yes, I will identify players and quote unquote agents that exist down the line and whatnot, but I like to hit primal source. You know what I'm talking about? I like to attack the primal source. It's almost like getting to the root of a tree. You people are out here cutting off the branches and whatnot. I'm going for the head of the snake. I'm going to give you the root. So when you pull it up, you can really affect this thing. Because there are living people right now who are the root to some of the issues and some of the frequencies and they're tied in to what we're seeing and whatnot. But I want to use a disclaimer that, you know, this is an observation. You know what I mean? We're not coming at this with the emotions. You know what I mean? This is not boycott hip hop and everything. No, this ain't that. Because nobody on this line is going to stop nobody from listening to the music that they listen to. What we want you to do, though, is approach the music with an understanding, and be able to, when that frequency hits you, you could take that and do something with it. And you might be under a spell and not even know it. But yeah.
Yeah, so we talked, I think Red Pill mentioned earlier about transmuting certain the low frequencies of certain songs. I notice a lot of people when they're like, let's say they're in the gym, they may listen to music that we call low vibrational, but it actually gives them energy. So they may, if you in the gym and you bench pressing or you lifting weights, you may listen to a DMX. You may listen to somebody, a Gucci Man or whoever gets you hype, just so you could do your reps because it energizes you while you do your reps. My question is, do you think it's easier to transmute lower frequencies to higher frequencies when you're alone? Because it appears that when people are in a group, they don't have that same ability, but when they're by themselves, it's more easy to do. So do you think there's a difference between listening to music by yourself versus listening to music when you're in a group and y'all all listening to low vibrational music?
Yes. And the reason I said it is because of energy transfer. So when you have an amalgamation of people in a certain location all together with a low vibrational state, the music in itself can, you know, it can be used as a demonic tool, basically. But also, a lot of times, like when I find myself in the gym, when I'm working out, I actually sometimes work out the R&B music. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of,
for real?
Legend.
Like who? Give me an example. Like who? Like I listen to, man.
He said R&B.
Yeah, it's got a different energy to it, man, because it almost that love frequency. But I don't do it all the times, but sometimes I throw on like the Donnell Jones.
Yo, that's crazy. You mentioned that. No, you just brought to mind today on God in them. I was in the gym with Blue Pill. I'm on Instagram, and there was a video to show all of the songs that Teddy Riley produced. Yo, he's a legend. His catalog is crazy.
Right.
And I heard the God song, and I was working out to it because it releases dopamine. It's feel good. You know what I mean? So if you feeling good and whatnot, yeah, and then you could really tap in. Yeah, I want to be I want an R&B body, and then I like that. I'm gonna try that out. I'm gonna definitely try that out.
But yeah, but most of the time when you listen to certain music like that, for a lot of people who don't understand the diametrical difference between music and reality, they can be compromised on the energetic level when it comes to the music, the negative frequencies of it. So that's why, you know, due to energy transfer, that's why a lot of times I remember back in college when certain songs come on and you had a lot of people in the area, you know, they start fighting.
Right.
So
right.
It just depends on the energy of the people that's around you.
I definitely agree.
Do you think musicians are the most powerful programmers in the world? Like there's religion that programs, there's television, there's movies, you know, there's different things that people watch or give their attention to that programs them. Do you think musicians are the most powerful programmers, that thus making them the most powerful people on the planet?
Think about it. Words are worlds. Words are worlds. So the mastery of the English language has steps to it. Keep in mind, on the steps of the Masonic pyramid, where's music? Second to the top. Second to the top. Yeah, second to the top. When they talk about Lucifer and whatnot, what was he a master at? What?
Music.
At the music. So if you could take word and turn it into song, you're actually singing. Now you turn it into a melodic frequency, right? There's no on this where remember, we're talking about from day one. Before there was anything else, there was the word. So the master of the word, mastering the word and prose and with the poetry, when you're mastering the word and you could paint pictures with the words, and then when you could go beyond painting the picture with the words, and you could put the words in rhyme. By putting the words in a rhyme, you're putting it actually in spell form. That's how you cast spells. And then when you put it on the drum or on the beat, that's when you accelerate it. And now when you speak through these microphones, you know the power of the microphone, right? You a producer. So you know how microphones have accelerated the quote unquote the word. The word. If a perfect mix on a song is made and whatnot, and the word could be heard and is layered correctly on a sound bed, you have yourself what is known as a hit. It's nothing more powerful than that. You casting spells, you telling people what it is, you terraforming reality. I watch Biggie Smalls, Tupac Shakur, and some of my favorite rappers like Wu-Tang terraform my perception of reality. I don't know what the whole world was doing, but I know the reality is based on perception, and they terraformed everything around me with their words, bro. No politician could do that. The people on TV is cool and everything. Movies have a big impact, but they be sweating the musicians though.
Yeah, they do. The basketball, everybody,
the musician is the magician. Yeah, the musician is the magician.
Yeah, BDELL, you want to chime in on that question? Do you think musicians are the most powerful people on the planet?
No, like I agree with what he was saying as far as a producer. Producer has a lot more hands-on experience on how to cultivate a certain sound. So you also got, due to the fact that the great majority of music that's being, amplified in our generation, what's missing is the soul essence of the music. Just like, back in the early 2000s, you had the like Dipset, they had the soul samples and stuff like that. You don't really hear a lot of that in the music,
right?
Because the soul samples, when you amalgamate it with the modern day sound, it can basically dematerialize a lot of the afflictions that go on in our generation, because it's not propagating gangsterism, or it's not propagating sexual proclivities and things of that nature. So I agree. The embodiment of the sound that the producer puts in the music basically is the foundation of what takes place in society.
That is a fact. The producer is the time traveler. You the one who prepared a time machine. It's not the artist who's writing the rhyme. You don't time travel through the word. You build world. You could build world. You'll build worlds, and you paint pictures with the word. But it's the beat, it's the music that takes you back in time. why did they outlaw or why did they stop the samples? Why? Because when the 90s baby, remember, if you a 90s baby or if you were 2000 babies and I put the 70s sample in a hit like the Jamie Foxx, shout out to Jamie, and the Ye song and whatnot, you go back in time. Oh, you know Peasy song? Was it the well, we heard it on the call. We was together. The dude from Detroit, Peasy. You going back in time. That's a bop right there. So now I'm a 90s baby. I'm not connected to the 70s. The soul takes me back in time to the 70s. I'm checking out that music. When I hear the real song, I'm like, oh, I heard that before. Oh, that's that. The samples are magical. We needed, that was our connection. So remember, the fathers, this hip hop is 50 years old. The originators, right? The primals, the architects of this thing, that is their sound, bro. They grew up to real soul music, and soul music, like BDELL was saying, is real music. If the children hear that, if the babies hear that, if these 2000 babies, imagine a child that grew up hearing nothing but DMX or nothing but NBA Youngboy in the womb or nothing but Boozy Badass. I'm going to give you the whole lineage of them. Let's talk in terms of Gremlin, and no disrespect to anybody. I'm not trying to call nobody out of their name in a sense like that, because I don't want to defame anybody. However, people know the movie Gremlin, right? So in the movie Gremlin, you understand the concept of Gizmo, Stripe, and everything that came from Stripe, right? So think in terms of Gizmo as being an artist who was not compromised. Or you could think of Gizmo as an artist who, when rap first came out, they wasn't necessarily talking about their quote unquote private and their secret life to the extent that these rappers are confessing on wax right now and giving you the darkest secrets and whatnot and telling you details about their private and their secret life that nobody should know in the public. Especially people that you kill, torture, and do horrible things to. So then you have Stripe. Stripe is when Gizmo went completely dark. Stripe is Gizmo's shadow, right? Stripe is on demon time. And out of the backs of Stripe come many. Out of one comes many, right? We don't die. We do what?
Multiply.
So going back to what I was saying before, you got to be able to identify primary source. Who is NBA Youngboy? NBA Youngboy is a gremlin, but he comes from the stripe of Boozy Badass, who's born on my birthday. Hey.
To this day, you don't find that suspicious. To this day, you don't find that suspicious.
I know what kind of darkness a Boozy Badass has inside of him because he was born on my birthday. I just know from a scorpionic perspective, if I were to tilt myself into my dark side the way that he has, I know what that's capable of. He's born on my day. So Kevin Gates and Boozy Badass would be the quote unquote parents of that style of that rapper that you see called NBA Youngboy today, right? He's an offshoot of that. There are many gremlins of Lil Wayne running around in the music industry. One of them is named Young Thug. And from him, many have come from, right? And they just keep multiplying and multiplying. It is attached to a certain egregor. It is attached to a certain dark energy. I could even identify it in Jamaica. You have a man called Vibes Cartel.
Facts.
When you go and pull up, yo, can I share my screen real quick? I mean, I don't want to turn this into a lecture or nothing, brother, but there's sometimes people got to see things. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do a keynote tonight on my thing because I don't want to take up people's time tonight. I'll do it on Melanin Monday, right? But I want y'all to see the faces of these young men. Hold on, real quick. I want you to see what possession looks like. We have to be real with ourselves. How is it that regular people could get hexes on them and be possessed, but artists can't? Talk to me. Like these are multi-billionaires and millionaires, and they're around. They have millions of people, and when they're involved in things like murder, when they're involved in things like killing off your other people's favorite artists and stuff like that, You have no idea what could be done to them in the spirit realm. When I look at pictures of some of these artists, I'm like, oh nah, you're hearing the frequency of a demon. They're really on demon time because I could see possession in them. I could see the possession in them. Some of these artists may have to have got work done so they could have stayed alive. Do you know some of the stories of some of these people? The shit sounds, it reads from a whatchamacallit, from an H.P. Lovecraft novel.
And speaking on demon time, if you also, when you look at the great majority, see, I was born, you know, in the 90s, so the great majority, you know, kids in my generation,
yeah,
our parents listened to R&B music, so you could produce a love child with R&B music. And now, you know what I'm saying, you fast forward to my generation, a lot of these children are being made through trap music, drill music, because, you know, the cymatic octave frequency in itself of the music can basically, you know, compromise the energy of the child when it's being born. So now you can understand why these kids are, you know what I'm saying, on demon time, because they weren't made out of love. You know what I'm saying?
Excellent point. Excellent point. You know, I want to ask now about the relationship between music and water. We heard Dr. Emoto, the Japanese gentleman who talked about, you know, he would talk to water and say words like love or hate. And, you know, they use technology where they would freeze it and show a picture and it was like crystallized and stuff like that. So we know that a lot of people know the science of talking to our water. What do you think about actually taking it up a level and instead of talking to our water, starting to play music to our water? Do you think that would have a higher, more effective impact on the water we drink if instead of just talking to it, now we started to play music to it?
I think if a branded itself as a warehouse that supercharges all of its water with the 432 hertz, they would become one of the top water brands in the game.
That's I just
I would.
You just gave a business. Woo! $1 million idea. Woo!
Yeah,
$1 million idea.
Talk nice. Okay. Yeah. For anybody that runs with that, yeah, we're gonna timestamp